All right, we're going to start today with lesson 4. This is the first time we've done a screencast, but we're going to try it here. So, alcoholism and alcohol abuse. We've talked a lot about alcohol and how it is an addictive drug. We're going to talk about alcohol's addictive power right now. First, alcohol is habit forming. Okay? So that means you can form a habit. You can form habits of almost everything. It takes about 28 days to form a habit. And when you form a habit, it's something that you do. You choose to consciously make this a habit. Okay? So alcohol is one of those things. A lot of times you get into it just because of peer pressure or self-pressure. And, if you do it long enough, it becomes a habit. Repeated use can lead to that addiction. Okay, and we talked about how addiction is a physical or a psychological need for a drug. It doesn't matter if it's tobacco or alcohol or other drugs. An addiction is a physical, where your body craves it, or a psychological, where your mind craves that drug. And then we see teens that are 15 and younger are 4 times more likely to become addicted than other individuals. Here we go. People who are addicted to alcohol suffer from alcoholism. Okay? So alcoholism is the actual disease that you suffer from when you're an addict. It's called alcoholism. And alcoholism, it's chronic, it's progressive, it's a progressive chronic disease involving a mental and physical need for alcohol. So we talked a second ago about the physical or psychological need. There it is again, mental and physical need for alcohol. People that have alcoholism are referred to as alcoholics. And then the effects are physical, mental, emotional, and social. Okay, so we see that the physical, mental, emotional, and social are all part of that health triangle. It's also estimated that 14 million Americans have a problem with alcohol. And there are 318.9 million Americans in the United States as of 2014. 319 million. So to have 14 million Americans have a problem with alcohol, that stinks. All right, I like that up there. Denial ain't just a river in Egypt. That would be the Nile River. Anyway, there are 5 major symptoms of alcoholism. The first symptom is denial. The person has a hard time believing that they have a problem. Craving is the second symptom. The person has a strong need or compulsion to drink. The third symptom is a loss of control. When there's a loss of control, the person's unable to limit his or her drinking on any given occasion. Remember, on the videos that we've watched, we saw that some of the people had to have alcohol, otherwise they'd shake. We saw that some of them had it in school. Some of them would drink all day and pass out at night. That's how they'd go to sleep, and just how much of an addiction it is. Tolerance is the fourth symptom. Tolerance is when a person who drinks regularly can develop a tolerance. It's a process in which your body needs more and more of a drug to get the same effect. So we talked about tolerance in tobacco. We will talk about it again in illegal drugs, and it is also a symptom of alcoholism. Then physical dependence. This is a type of addiction in which the body itself feels the direct need for a drug. Okay, your body wants it. And it goes through symptoms of withdrawal if you don't get it. So there are four stages of alcoholism. They develop over a period of time. Each stage depends on the individual and the age that you began to drink. So those four stages we're going to talk about in a minute here. But like we talked about initially on our first day, alcohol affects everybody different, and the stages are also come in different and develop over periods of time differently for each person. So stage one. Most people in the first stage are surprised by how much they can drink. Like, oh, I didn't know I can drink this much, and I'm not really feeling it anymore. So that's kind of a surprise. They choose to drink to relax or get relief from stress and mental fatigue. They're looking for opportunities to drink, and then there's a gradual increase in tolerance. So now instead of 3 beers getting me drunk, now it takes 5. So that's that increase in tolerance. Stage 2, the person has short-term memory loss and blackouts, or periods of time the alcoholic cannot remember. So not only are you suffering memory loss, like you can't remember what happened, you had the best time of your life, but you can't remember it, but you're also suffering through periods of time that you're blacking out. That's actually a blackout when you suffer that memory loss. It's not where you're like knocked out. Other things that happen in stage 2, you're saying or doing things that are hurtful, you're sneaking extra drinks and feeling guilty, then you're making excuses for drinking. Oh, I'm depressed, I gotta have a drink. Oh, I'm happy, I could have a drink. Oh, I'm, you know, t I'm just finished work, time for a drink. Stage 3 includes losing control. You simply cannot predict what will happen, or you cannot stop after just one drink. So you can't control how many drinks you have. You can't control what you do when you drink. Oftentimes this will result in aggressive or resentful behavior, making and failing to keep promises. So, you know, I promise, I don't know, maybe a parent promises to go to your baseball game or something, and then they miss it. Losing interest in anything but alcohol, and then trouble with money, work, and the law. Those are all things that might be a stage 3 symptom. And then stage 4, the alcoholic lives to drink and drinks all day. Probably can't keep a job. There's long periods of being intoxicated all the time. And remember, intoxicated is when legally intoxicated in our state is 0.08. 8% of your blood is alcohol or more. Also, there are strange or unreasonable fears, your faulty thinking or hallucinating, and then malnutrition is caused by not eating properly. That's all part of stage 4. We talked with tobacco about costs to the family or costs to society, and there are also costs to the family with drinking. Often, the drinker doesn't think that they have a problem, so they think they'll be fine. But family members, what they do, often they'll help the alcoholic and neglect their own needs. Okay, when that happens, that's not a good thing because they're neglecting their own needs. Family members can make the problem worse as well. They're called enablers, people who create an atmosphere in which the alcoholic can comfortably continue his or her unacceptable behavior. So when the family member allows you to continue drinking or whatever it is, that is called an enabler. Other costs to society. Underage drinking costs society more than $50 billion a year. Total cost of alcohol-related problems is $175.9 billion a year. So that would be total problems, not just accidents or not just fights or whatever. It'd be all of them. And then more than smoking or drug-related problems. Also causes billions lost in productivity. We talked about that with tobacco as well, how people get sick. But here, people also get sick. They also, get in fights, or they also get in accidents, and that causes billions lost in productivity. Alcohol abuse. Alcoholism and abuse are two different concepts. Abusers are not physically dependent on the drug. Okay? So alcohol abuse is a pattern of drinking that results in one or more well-defined behaviors within a 12-month period. So some of those behaviors might be failure to fulfill major work, school, or home responsibilities, drinking in situations that are physically dangerous, like drinking and driving, having ongoing alcohol-related legal problems, like driving while intoxicated, or fighting with a spouse, and then continuing drinking even when relationships have been negatively affected by the use of that alcohol. And those are symptoms of alcohol abuse. Okay, so if you need to get any of the other notes, if I went too fast, you can rewind it. You should be watching and doing this either at home or by yourself with an iPad or a computer or something. You can feel free to go back up and get anything that you might have missed.